What's up, everybody? This is Joey C from the Brutally Sober podcast. I'm here with Sarah C and Bobby C. A bunch of C. There's three C's. What's going on?
Can't get can't get away from the seas, man. The seas are here.
Well, I'm in New Jersey right now, as you know, and it's very tropical outside. It's about 75 degrees, and it's like a freaking whippoorwill out there. I bet you it's warmer over here than it is in Cali right now.
Exactly, it is. It is. Right now, it's probably about 65. It's going to go up to 78 later this week, but then it's going to go back into the 60s. About this time of year, everybody calls me from Jersey. Oh, it's warmer out here. It's beautiful.
Oh,
Blah,
yeah.
blah, blah. I said, hey, wait next week. Okay, it'll drop another 30 degrees.
Yeah, I know.
But getting back, we're going to do this. We're going to deprogramming the program of Alcoholics Anonymous on how it works. This is what it's going to be titled at, and stay with us, and you're going to hear some interesting things and some things that you're never going to hear in a meeting. Okay, guaranteed. Okay,
Yeah, well,
so
not
stick
in a
with
meeting.
us.
No, not in an AA meeting. By the way, I hate small talk, okay? But I do like talking about the weather, especially with someone who's from California. If you notice, I start my podcast every time with what the weather is outside.
Yeah, in the parking lots.
In the parking lot.
Before you go in the Stop and Shop or Home Depot, because Sarah's always got you going to shop and stop for something. Okay, I don't care what it is. It's always something over there. She always needs things. Women always need. You know.
I'm stopping
My wife.
Free for 3 days now.
Wow.
It's a new record.
Okay.
Anyway.
Sorry, Sarah.
Sorry, Sarah.
Oh, hey, I don't make you buy those cookies.
Well, I don't buy cookies anymore.
Yeah, because
I buy donuts and I eat them in the car before I get home. Okay. Don't judge me.
Oh man, donuts. I stopped. Donuts. I think donuts. I just cakes and donuts and pies and you name it. Okay, so we're going to start with this. First of all, to the viewers, this step book. Everybody, all the young guys and all the people that have been in for years, think this step book came out 17 years later after Alcoholics Anonymous started. 17 years later. Okay, so that means they were using the big book for 17 years, but they did not have a name or a book for 4 years. Okay, and people were staying sober. So we're going to start out with just deprogramming this, how it works deal. Step one is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. What do you think, Joe?
Well, obviously I had to Google the steps because I can never remember them off the top of my head. And the first thing that popped up was from some like AA.org or something like that. This is the first step outlined in the big book is essential to jumpstart the alcoholic's recovery process. AA firmly believes that individuals cannot overcome alcoholism on their own. That's from recovery.org. And I think that's a good representation of AA. And I think that's a bad representation. I mean, it's a good representation of AA because that's how AA thinks, but that's one of the reasons why that's one of the things I don't agree with about how AA works. Because it's always from like, I guess you have to rely on God or something outside of yourself, which I agree with and I don't agree with. I call out the contradictions of AA all the time, but then as I'm reading this stuff, I find contradictions within myself, and I have to call myself out on a lot of things too. As I'm reading a lot of this stuff, and as I'm reading it, not because someone's telling me I have to read it, not because a sponsor's telling me that I have to read it, I'm dissecting it in a way that actually a lot of it, just for right now, is making sense to me. I think that it can help a lot of people if they remove the Christianity aspect, and if they define God in a different way, it's going to help them out.
Step one for me, I admit I have a problem. But admitting I had a problem wasn't really that great, because I used to say I had a problem all the time. Everybody else told me I had a problem. Everybody said that you got a problem with alcohol. They called me an alcoholic way back 37 years ago. Society, my wife, my mother-in-law said, I think he's an alcoholic. So they used that word alcohol way back. That word alcohol. But I admitted I had a problem. That's not really the deal. Just admitting it ain't nothing. It took me to say yes to help when the circumstances were so bad, and my wife really was going Al-Anon, and I had to get some help because she was ready to leave me, for the second time. It would have been the third time. So I knew I had a problem. So I admitted I had a problem. Powerless over alcohol. I knew that when I used to drink, I'd get in trouble. I knew it. So step one was like, and my life was unmanageable. I don't buy all that manageable. When I drank, that my life did get crazy, but I managed many other things in my life. I had to pay the bills. I did a lot. I went to work. I had to do a lot of stuff. So when they say my life was unmanageable, because if you go into the steps even deeper, it'll say unmanageability with your whole life, So I kind of questioned that, but step one was a piece of cake. I kind of knew I had a problem with alcohol.
Yeah, I admitted my problem a long time ago. I didn't have a problem with me having a problem. I was already identifying myself as a heavy drinker, alcoholic, whatever. As long as I could just keep doing it, I didn't really care if I had a problem with it or not. My powerless over it, I don't know. I I was able to not drink a lot when I wanted to. When my body and mind was craving it like severely, there were plenty of times that I was able to withstand those cravings and urges. So that makes me think, I don't know, maybe I do have a lot of responsibility for drinking. They I don't know, there's a lot of like, it's not your fault because you have a disease, and versus you have to apologize for all the things that you've done. And well, which one is it? Are you a victim of a disease, or are you a total um insane person that can't control themselves? uh I don't have the answer.
What do you got to say? Anything about that, Sarah? That you can relate to your husband during his so-called alcohol habit or addiction?
Well, you're like, I like what you said about you're not sure how you're not if you're not powerless because you've been able to choose not to. So if you were completely powerless over alcohol, you wouldn't have been able to choose differently. But when you're in the act of drinking, once you've already merged with the spirits, so to speak, that's when you've become kind of powerless and you keep going. from what I've seen, like with you personally, Joe. But and with other people, like then they come kind of paralyzed, maybe not powerless.
Yeah. Also, I think I
Good point.
don't describe it as powerless. I guess I would describe it as extremely, like, you know, they say you're under the influence of alcohol, like
Mhm.
extremely under the influence, heavily influenced. Like this thing is not making the decision for me, but it's like pushing me to the edge where I'm going to say, yeah, okay, this is the decision that I'm gonna make because I'm at the edge right now, and if I have this many more beers, it's where I'm gonna want to be. But I don't have to take that drink. I can I can stop drinking right now and be completely miserable and want to jump out of my skin. I can choose to do that. I will be completely miserable, but I have the power to choose that.
Yeah, these step one is to get it, you know, before step one, there's many pages there. There's 56 pages prior to that. And it's getting the reader to buy in the notion of these steps when they present them and how it works. So it's almost a you can get this program osmosisly, and they're setting us up to believe certain things. Person fail who has thoroughly followed her path, which is read every meeting, and more about alcoholism is read every meeting. There's certain things that are read every meeting, and they're read every meeting for a reason. Repetition is the mother of brainwashing. Let's just say, I don't even like to use, people don't like the word brainwashing, but repetition of getting the members to agree and think like the society wants us to. Let's say that, if people don't like the word brainwashing. Well, let's just go to step two. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Okay, you read that over again, Joe, and then comment on it. I agree with Sarah, what she was saying, because it's living proof that Joe, right there, right in front of us, is living proof that Joe didn't even work the steps. He stopped going to meetings for a year. He's really not buying too much of the God stuff, and he's staying sober. So, you know, so it's proven, and I've over and over in my own life too. So you want to read step two, Joe, and talk something about that. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. AA says that you don't have to do that. I think this is what they say. You don't have to do that right away. You just have to be willing to believe that. From what I remember everyone saying in like rehab and in AA, just be willing to believe. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Um, I mean, this is all. This is when you break all this down. It's all just you can be off put by just the verbiage of everything. I mean, I can interpret that, and it's just basically I'm going to be getting in touch with an untapped resource within myself that can help me. Someone else can think that it's coming from somewhere else, and maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it is, but for me, it's an untapped resource that I have never acknowledged or experienced that's within myself that I can um, listen to and utilize as a power greater than I'm that I've always known.
Well, for me, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves. That was, for me, that was a long. First of all, like I said before, there's 58 pages prior to how it works, and one has to read those pages prior to understand the where they're trying to get you to. Okay, so when you're just coming in, they'll say the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. Well, there's no desire meter at the wall, when you walk in, there's no desire meter, so no one knows how much of a desire you have. But in every achievement, in every successful book, in all the motivational speakers, they talk about a desire. So they're just copying that. You need a desire to start anything. You can have a desire to drink. You know, we have desires to drink. The desire just means a craving, a wanting of something. So I have a desire to grow and expand my consciousness, to learn about myself, the world, and the universe. So I have a desire. But this book, in the beginning, if you read it, they'll say alcoholic, 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 alcoholic over and over and over and over. So just in those 58 pages, what the society is doing. Now, I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the society that was created and designed. What they're trying to do is to get us to this point of what we're reading right now. It came to believe that a power greater. Today, I believe I'm part of that power. I believe we all have that power. I believe we're all gods. I believe with greater power. It's inside, it's outside, it's everywhere. And it took me years and years to understand that and discover that, but it's everywhere. It's not separate from me. So in Alcoholics Anonymous, they talk about God all the time and trying to find this God, and it's impossible. You're trying to find this thing outside of you when it's actually inside of you. And you're having cognitive dissonance all the time and ambivalence about, so that's kind of a little, let's just say, trick of motivational and trying to get other people, persuading other people to go a certain way. And it says, could restore us to sanity. So they're saying I'm insane.
Right.
Period. They're saying I'm insane. What do you think about that, Sarah?
Well, everything you just said is what my response to Joey was about God. We are God. We're not separate from. We are part of that greater power. We're not separate from. So whatever you call that, the great spirit, the great mystery, the universe, God, we're not separate from that. And as far as you were talking about the repetition and brainwashing, repetition creates new neural pathways. So it's very intentional because it's creating a new neural pathway in your brain so that you believe you will be better. You can look at it that way. Because that's neuroscience in a nutshell right there, that we have the ability, whether you're doing it in a brainwashy type of way, or you're doing it to break through trauma type of way, it's repetition no matter what. So that's also perspective and how if we're trying to get somebody better, we have a baseline, of where to start. And I can look at it that way, or I can look at it in brainwash. And I see completely what you're saying when you're discussing the society with the big book. I see you. I hear you.
I don't have any problem with the repetition.
So you got anything? Go ahead, Joe.
I don't have any problem with
with
the repetition and what people might think of as brainwashing, because I wanted to view alcohol and reality in a different way than what I was used to, so that I can change my habits and my thinking. If I didn't have a different perception because of things that were beaten into my brain, I don't know if I was going to be able to change.
No, I agree with that. And Sarah's saying the same thing, and you're saying the same thing, and so am I. That's why I don't like to use the word brainwashing, because people take it as, a negative thing. Let's just say repetition is the mother of skill. which it could be evil skill, good skill, or anything in between. So it's like the law of attraction. The law of attraction works for evil people too. So it's the design of where they want to take you. It's up the, I mean, if you're taking yourself there through repetition, there's nothing wrong. That's how all achievement is acquired. So if you're taking yourself there on your own cognitive understanding and willingness to do something that is right or wrong for yourself, I agree with you, Joe, and Sarah on that. But if they're taking you to manipulate you or us into a direction that they want us to go, okay, then that's a different story. How about if we go to 3, because 3 is the kicker for everybody.
Oh yeah. But by the way, I've been sending Sarah subliminal messages to make me a turkey and cheese sandwich for lunch all morning. And she's just she's so focused and cannot be influenced like that. I can't break through. I don't know what.
Yeah, you just got to say turkey sandwich, turkey sandwich, turkey sandwich over and over again. Tell her. And then some women, once they hear that over and over again, they're going to say, screw you, I ain't giving you no turkey sandwich.
I think that's the point I'm close to. Yeah, I think that's what, yeah. I'm saying I'm going to have to make my own sandwich is what I'm getting.
Could be.
So yes, step 3 is the most infuriating step, probably. I mean, I don't know. I've just been doing my homework on these step 1, 2, and 3 in the past 24 hours. Again, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm going to forget all this crap in a day, probably. But I don't know, man. I'm enjoying dissecting all this stuff by myself and not having someone else reading over my shoulder with me and tell me how I'm supposed to interpret it. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. I got like pages and pages of notes on just step 1, 2, and 3 because I'm trying to integrate all these notes into what I'm talking about today, but it's not working because I have a lot of stuff written down. But I made the decision to return our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And my first note that I wrote down is like, I think it was, go fuck yourself. How is anyone going to turn their will over to something else? I mean, this is where you're going to lose people with this type of shit right here. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Now, okay, they're going to throw in as we understood him so that we can feel better about what they're trying to say. But this is the type of stuff where the robots come, the AA robots come from. This is the type of stuff where you get somebody in the meeting and they're like, keep coming back, bop, 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 keep coming back. Like, just, they're freaking robots. And I don't want to have anything to do with that. And if you have already made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him, I mean, our will got us to step 3 in the first place. So when are we allowed to use our will and when are we not allowed to use our will according to this book? I get the intention of all the steps. I get the intention of this step. I get the concept of it. And for the most part, I with all 12 steps, I agree with the intentions and the concepts, but the wording is just something that I can't get on board with, especially to turn your will over to something. Like, I'm not going to be that person that's going to say, oh, well, I don't know if I'm gonna go on vacation this week. I'm gonna pray about it, and I'll get the answer that way. I don't get it.
Well, step 3 for me. See, you got big book thumpers, you got 12-step thumpers, you got people that really research. I happen to have been one of the people that still research all this stuff. I like to do that. Okay. So when you kind of uncover things through reading all the different, first of all, they made 17 years later, they expanded on all the steps. They just made them longer. That's why they created a step book, and the tradition are in this book here. It was all designed for money, but it's designed for some good purpose too. It has to have some feeling of goodness to it, lest how you're going to get it, you would think it was evil. But the step 3, first of all, the whole concept of these books is to get you to give you your will and your life over. That's the whole design. I know people might not believe that. They believe you're giving your will and care over to God, but it's designed to give your life over to the care of Alcoholics Anonymous and recruit others for life. That's the design of it. Okay. Now, in the bigger version of the book, the step, I'd like to go to the end of the step. It's page 40 on the big book. The step book. And it says right here, Joe was asking a question, but now it appears that there are certain things which only the individual can do. So they're talking about your will. Here's where it gets really, you have to understand this program for many years to get it. And a lot of people don't care. They don't want to get it. They don't want to understand everything. They don't care about the society. They don't care about the beginning or how it started or who was involved in it. They don't care. They just know that they're sober. And Alcoholics Anonymous got me sober, and that's it. They don't want to hear nothing. And a lot of my friends, they don't want, when I talk stuff to them, Bobby, look, it's not as Bobby sees it. It's as Bill sees it. What are you trying to do? Play God? They always have something to say about something. And I love my friends still. I'm not talking about members. I had great friends in Alcoholics Anonymous, beautiful people. And none of them, the people that I hung with, tried to convince me or do anything. That's who I hang with. I don't hang with people that try to. And here it says, but now it appears that only the individual can do. It's always he or she needs to develop the quality of willingness. You have to develop the quality of willingness. When he acquires willingness, he or she is the only one who can make that decision to exert himself or herself. Okay, so they want you to acquire the willingness to exert yourself with free will. But here's where they want you to exert yourself with free will too. Okay, to do this is an act of his own will, which is it's an act of my own will. They're going to get me to. They're going to will me into me willing. All of the 12 steps require sustained and personal exertion to conform. It says right here, to conform to these principles, and so we trust to God's will. Okay, so they want me to conform and trust these principles, these 12 steps, and eventually I'll trust it's going to be God's will. So they want me to use my will. They want to take my will, actually. They don't want me to use it. They want me to use it to direct my thinking into the word conform. It says to act in accordance with the prevailing standards, attitudes, practices, etc. of a society or group. That's just a paragraph, So I refused from the beginning to give my life and my will over to the care of Alcoholics Anonymous. From the very beginning, I decided not to do that. you know.
But they want
And and I stayed in for many, 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 many years, and I did all the steps. Go ahead.
they want you to use your own will at first, but only to make the decision to become to obtain willingness. And when you obtain willingness, that is coming from an external source, God or AA or whatever. So you can only use your own will when you're going to decide to become open and willing. I think that's what I'm getting from it. But after that, can't use your will. Only when you've become
Right.
willing. Now, self-will and becoming open and willing are being willing and self-will are two different things, and you have to have self-will to get to becoming willing. So don't tell me that I can't have self-will. I was reading the tradition book, and it was saying, the guy was saying self-will is no good, and to I forget what he said exactly, but there's so much BS and frustrating things that it says, and just the fact that it says that you can't have self-will is just like, I think it just turns so many people off that could benefit from the program.
Well, remember, it's a simple program.
Yeah, right.
It's far from simple. Sarah, what do you have to say about that stuff?
Just from, like, I know nothing about the Society of AA, but after hearing it, my first thing is it's disempowering. And what happens when you disempower people? You have control over them. So again, like, we want to empower people, but when you empower people, then they don't listen. They don't have that, they're not so willing. They're willing to look after themselves, and they're willing to do what's good for them, but that may not be good for the program. I mean, that's what it sounds like from what you're reading to me, because I'm not in AA myself. I know nothing about AA. But after hearing that is pretty evident. That's really interesting stuff. You just learned me something, because I didn't know that at all.
I think a lot of people need to be told that they can't have a self-will anymore, because that's the only way they're gonna not drink, I guess. But
Maybe
it's
at first.
maybe, yeah, at first, but it's
Like at first, when you're just so desperate and broken down and you just need somebody to help you up, that's really help. But you are successful, and so at first you have to just be willing to allow somebody to help you, right? Allow the program to help you, and then they want you to have self-will. Then once you're stronger, you have self-will. You can look at it that way, but again, I know nothing about the deep roots of this society.
right. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing you were thinking, and then I kept reading in the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book, and it said self-will. It said something along the lines of self-will will not be helpful to you when you're doing the 12 steps. You have to be completely you have to have the willingness to do it, but your self-will will only get in the way of you doing the 12 steps.
Is that another way of saying your ego is getting in the way? Like, can they word it in a way, don't let your ego stop you and block you and defend you, because that's what your ego does. Your ego wants to protect you in every way and make every excuse, right? Maybe if they worded it again, like you're saying, the words are what you get tripped up on. If it was worded differently, so it's still empowering, because it's your choice to look beyond your ego and release that.
That is probably essentially what it means.
Yeah, we can go on that long, but they talk about, I mean, they talk about ego and stuff like that. They see that the whole thing to me, even in the next sentence, it says it again, conform, the word conform.
Mm.
It is when we try to make our will conform with God's that we begin to use it rightly. No matter, I don't care how you break it down. I don't care what you say, whoever says that I was a Catholic. I was, born an atheist, but became a Catholic. My mom gave me her Catholicism. I did all the rituals in the Catholic Church, all the amends and all the rituals, baptism through confession, communion, and all that other stuff. So I know what religion is. And, just in this book alone, there's probably 5, 6 different prayers that are recited over and over again. The Lord's Prayer, Our Father, holds hands after the meeting, they're saying Our Father. You have the 11-step prayer, big prayer to Assisi's, Francis Assisi's, big prayer, the 11-step prayer. You got the 3rd-step prayer. You got all kinds of different prayings, okay? This thing leads you to God no matter what. And to me, it's religious. It's Christianity. It's I tried all different things, and I found out that it, over and over again, when I was in cognitive dissonance trying to think that it's not, I always got back to it. It was always, for me, it was always felt religious and felt like Christianity to me. So Sarah, getting back to Sarah, one of her statements, I don't know if it was off air or on air, about going to Al-Anon and Coda and different types of other 12-step groups. She kind of said it seemed too religious for her and too much godly type of stuff that had to do with Christianity. You want to briefly talk on that, Sarah?
Yeah, that every person that I knew that was recommending it was religious, and any person that I knew that had gone would talk about how they couldn't get past it was very, very religious. And I was raised Roman Catholic, so there's probably a lot of me that has that resistance to, I've been there, done that, don't want to go there, asked too many questions when I was a kid. They didn't like that. You don't have answers except listen and do what you're told and just blindly trust and follow, right? So there's a lot of that history with me as to why I didn't want to get myself into another system in that way, in another religious system. That's not what I'm looking for to support me. It has not supported me in my journey with addiction in my life, and not my own addiction, but like just witnessing addiction in my life. That has not stopped anything, because it's not about the religion, it's about the person.
So you just didn't want to get indoctrinated into another society like you were at a younger age. That's what it sounds like. That's
I
great.
didn't want to get frustrated again over something.
How
I didn't
about-
want to be stressed out about something when I was already stressed out. I was like, I don't
Right.
do that.
Yeah, you already made a decision and you're like, no, thank you. How about you, Joe? Where are you at with the religion part of the, do you think or don't think it is kind of religious? Well, let me ask you, how did you go to meetings? How long have you been going to meetings? AA meetings in person?
Solid year. Actually,
And how long have you stayed sober without going to meetings?
no, it was like 9 months, and then I haven't been to a meeting in like 13 months or something like that. But I mean, you can't deny the Christian influence on AA. I mean, no one can deny that. I think that's where they got it from. They got all this stuff from Christianity, just like NA got their steps from AA, and everyone gets something from somebody else. I think ultimately most or all religions are pretty much the same anyway, and they're all trying to do the same. I think they're all trying to. When you break it down, it's all the same. No matter what religion you are, take away all the bad stuff within each religion, just like there's bad stuff in AA and there's bad stuff wherever you go. Take away all that, and I think it's all the same. And I don't want to knock Christianity. Everybody's knocking Christianity these days. I think you can apply the principles to your own life however you want to interpret it. You don't have to interpret it from a Christian standpoint. You can interpret it from a Buddhist standpoint. You can translate Christian beliefs to Buddhist beliefs to whatever else beliefs with different words. They all mean the same thing.
Yeah, that's good. You know, I just want to let the audience know that we're not here to say that we know everything. We're not here to say that we're professionals. We're not the psychiatrists, and we understand that. But we are professionals in our own experience, and I've said this many times in the podcast. We are professionals we're experts in our own experience. I'm an expert in my experience so far. Okay. Because I'm the only one that really has to prove it to myself, have evidence. And I've had evidence, you know, and the evidence that I found, that's what I talk about. But people that are in AA, do you like it? Stay there. All we're saying is take a look at other things, listen to other people, listen to other people that are deciphering or breaking down these steps, have other ideas because they see other things in a different way, because you don't talk about this in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, okay? We're gonna talk about this because we can't talk about it in meetings. So if you're staying, enjoy, but listen to us and just take it or leave it. It's up to you. If you're planning on exiting, don't go without a plan. Plan on exiting, but get other sources. There's a lot of alternative sources. Like Joe mentioned, Buddhism. Buddhism really, they say, is not a religion. It's a philosophy. It's a kind of a way of life. But get whatever else you're into. There's Smart Recovery. There's get a Freedom Model book if you like that. Read it. If you want to try Recovery Dharma, which is Buddhist. There's a lot of other, you know, even there's people that are doing harm reduction. There's people that are doing Sinclair methods. So we're not telling what people to do. And if you already left AA, this is just kind of validating some things. So we're not here to knock members. I'm not here. I have friends still today in Alcoholics Anonymous. So I'm not here to knock any members. I'm here to expose and deprogram what I've found out over 37 years of Alcoholics Anonymous design and purpose of the program. Back to you, Joe. You could kind of close it up, I guess, you and Sarah.
If you're going into AA, I suggest that you follow the direction of being honest, open, and willing, as long as you can remain an independent thinker. Don't get sucked in. You got to think for yourself. And yes, also remember, we don't know what the hell we're talking about. I'm kind of the proof here in these videos to prove that we don't know what we're talking about, because I never know what the hell I'm talking about. But what scares me the most about going into AA is you're going to become a robot. You don't have to become a robot. Be open, honest, and willing. You can also think for yourself. Catch me at brutallysober.com. Bobby C, Anonymous Addiction. Sarah C, you want to plug anything while you're here?
Take us out, Sarah. Take us out for today.
Do what you love. Do what makes you feel empowered.
There we go.
And something that makes you feel empowered.
There we go. And that's
all right. This is Bobby C signing out. The Anonymous Addictions at my private group over there at the, as Bobby C sees it, on Facebook. Join us. This was great. This was good. It was good. It was a good conversation. I enjoyed it. Thanks, Sarah, for coming in with us.
all right. We'll see you later, Bobby C. Joey C signing off.